If you look around the internet, it will take you exactly 0.3 seconds to come away with the impression that the entire state of Georgia trains its law enforcement officers that they can break into anyone's house they want to without a warrant, so long as they squawk something about officer safety, and they're willing to try and gaslight the people who would stand and ask them questions into just submitting and accepting their authority. That's exactly what happened to a resident in an apartment complex in Sandy Springs, Georgia. And to beat it all, the idiots from the police department put this video up on Facebook and captioned it as an example of excellent leadership. Let's talk about it. What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Southern Draw Law. My name is James White, criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor, former police officer. So first and foremost, I want to thank Brenda, my subscriber, for sending me this video via email. It absolutely blew my mind. So let me set the stage for you. And then we're going to watch the video and you'll draw your own conclusions because it's crazy. So apparently they had what they believed was a shooting. Fair enough, right? So it's at an apartment complex in Sandy Springs, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta. You know, no problems going on in Atlanta, and specifically not Sandy Springs. We'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, the scene unfolds. I'm going to just sort of set the context for you. But basically what they have is they have a lady who's bleeding from the head, and they've had a gunshot. They believe that she is shot. And they don't know, according to this police officer, this leader and lieutenant that we'll get to in a minute, they don't know where the assailant went or anything. It turns out that they later learned that the lady was not actually shot. She was struck in the head by the gun, and the gun discharged. So there was not an actual person shot, but there was a shooting or a negligent discharge or whatever you want to call it. So what they did was they crime scene taped the whole apartment complex, and you know, they can do that, right? They're investigating what they believe to be either an aggravated assault, shooting, or what might unfold and end up being a homicide. They can rope off the crime scene, all that, right? What they can't do, unless very limited circumstances, is actually go into people's houses. But this guy ends up, I guess, being in his house, and he slips out somehow, and he doesn't even realize anything's going on. By the time he makes his way back to his house, all this crime scene tape is keeping him from being able to access his house. So he's trying to figure out what's going on and why he can't get in or out of his apartment complex. And so what unfolds is the greatest example of how we allow police officers to take what is essentially their position as a customer service person and treat the taxpayer who pays their salary in such a rude and disrespectful way. And it's no wonder that people don't want to give them information or talk to them. I'm not going to say anything else about it. I'm just going to let you guys watch. Hey, maybe I got the wrong impression from this video. Maybe you guys will feel differently, and I'm just missing it, because when I scrolled through the comments on this, it was just bootlicker laden with, oh, this is what leadership looks like. Great job. This is my favorite lieutenant. And I'm sitting there thinking, holy shit, this is a lieutenant. He's a leader. He's leading. This is what they think good leadership is. So without trying to influence your perspective any more than that, let's just watch the video and we'll come back, and I have a couple thoughts, as you might imagine, about how this thing shook out.
Where did he come from?
That's his apartment.
So where did he come from?
He came walking up this way, and he coming to ask us.
I'm the one that gave the directive on that.
To go inside my apartment?
That is correct.
Why? Why would someone?
Let's come on over here and I'll talk to you. Come on. No, it's not.
That doesn't have anything to do with me. They're not inside my apartment, though.
You want me to explain it to you? I'll explain it. Well, come on over here. Come on over here. I'll explain it to you. So how did you get over here in this area?
What do you mean, how did I live here?
How did you get into this area of the parking lot? Did you walk this way?
I walked through the back of the building, and I came in the apartment.
Okay. So why did you walk around the back of the building?
Because it's taped off. I can't get in.
Well, that's for a reason. Because we don't want anybody in here. So you entered our crime scene. So you saw the tape, and you went ahead and went another way to try to get around the tape.
I live here.
I understand that.
So notice the first thing that he's trying to do is get the guy to hem himself up, and he's going to chastise him about trying to access his actual home. Come over here. I'll explain everything to you. He doesn't even want to hear the guy's question. All he wants to do is interrogate him as to why he thought it was okay to access his own house. Let's keep going.
We're not letting anybody in or out.
But that's my apartment.
I understand. We have the authority to tell
so you ran everybody outside of the apartments?
Listen, no. They're inside their apartments. We're not allowing them out. All right? And then people that are out, we're not allowing in. Because
my door is open. I was just here.
Okay,
and my door, I locked my door. So how is my door? How did y'all get? I have a Ring camera.
Okay.
How did y'all get inside? And why did y'all get inside?
I'm going to explain why. Because we have a gentleman here who is tied to that apartment whose girlfriend has been shot.
Who? What gentleman?
There's a gentleman sitting right there in a white.
That's not his apartment.
If you're going to keep interrupting me and arguing with me, okay, come on out here. Come outside the crime scene.
I'm trying to figure out.
Okay, well,
he's not attached to my
apartment. Very good.
He doesn't live there.
There you go. Very good. And when you're ready for me to explain it without you interrupting every time I get done with a sentence, I'd be more than happy to explain it all to you. But if every time I get done with a sentence, you're going to argue with me and
I don't understand that.
You don't let me finish.
Okay, there you go. I'll be happy to explain it to you and give you the version of events that I want you to have. It doesn't matter to me whether you're the homeowner, whether you have concerns, whether you're upset that somebody has gone into your house, probably without legal justification. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is whether or not I get to chastise you and talk to you like you're somewhat of a hybrid between a stray dog and a 4-year-old child that is talking back to an adult. That's the way he's talking to this guy. And as I listen to this, and I know this is probably hyperbolic, but as I listen to this, the only thing I can think of is, I wonder how many, matter of fact, why don't you guys comment a timestamp right now in the comment section and tell me, what do you think the over-under is on how many ex-wives this lieutenant has that have materialized as a result of his inability to have a back and forth volley in a conversational way without trying to be domineering and use the narcissist gaslighting playbook on every single person that he ever deals with. Also, this is not how people in Georgia talk. But I'm from the South. I know a Southern accent. This guy sounds like he crawled out of Andrew Cuomo's asshole. So the only thing I can come away with is that maybe he spent his formative years angry and cold like everybody else north in the Mason-Dixon. Sorry for the Yankees that enjoy my content, but that's mainly for Fairlane 32 because he's a New Yorker. But anyway, that's not the point. Just imagine what it might be like to be in a relationship with this person and try to talk to them about like a utility bill or any regular household issue that might come up because, things are not always smooth. Can you imagine trying to get a point across to this guy at all? But note a couple things that he missed. This guy has said multiple times that he has a Ring doorbell camera. Do you think that it's preferable from a detective's perspective? Assume this thing turns into a homicide. We now know that it didn't. But assume for a second that this turns out to be a homicide. After having talked to this guy the way that this lieutenant has as he's leading, what do you think the likelihood is that this guy would want to assist the police in an investigation after this leader just put on a display of what it's going to be like? Keep in mind, this is Lieutenant. Think about Natasha Lopez and her complaint that she sent to Lieutenant Barone at the Cherokee County, Georgia Sheriff's Office and the sort of response. This is what leadership looks like to them. This is how out of touch they are. They think that we pay them as taxpayers for them to talk to us like this and control every aspect of our lives, even go in our house and tell us that this is just what they have to accept because this is how we do things. And how dare they question our authority to do it? It's absolutely insane. If you're a detective trying to solve a homicide, wouldn't you rather people be treated better in the process of gathering information? And think about this. There's a reason this guy is not in a investigative capacity. Okay. I just want you to consider that for a second, because a real investigator would be taking notes as to what the guy said and thinking, I might be able to get that guy to cooperate and help me with my investigation to figure out who this person is. Maybe he knows him. Maybe we can identify his face from the Ring camera footage. He would be much more likely to cooperate and help them with that investigation if he wasn't just talked to like he was a child by this petulant moron who has literally zero people skills. This is what leadership looks like. Imagine trying to solve a homicide in a community where they always say, well, these people don't want to talk to us. Do you think that maybe, just maybe, the reason that the people in that community don't want to cooperate with the police is because this is what they get when they have a question about somebody breaking into their house and then falsely imprisoning everybody inside the apartment complex while they called themselves investigating? Literally, the only thing they're trying to investigate is how dare this guy have the audacity to try to walk around our crime scene tape. That's literally the only thing he's trying to investigate. He's completely ignoring all of the good opportunities that exist here for him to try to deepen or broaden his investigation into the actual shooting because his ego cannot stand to be challenged. And this is what they think the public wants to see from a leader.
That's
you
crazy.
don't let me finish. It's not crazy. It's actually very reasonable and logical when you start looking.
That gentleman in
there
the
you
hallway.
go. See, there you go again.
Because
there you
he's
go again.
not.
There you go again.
That's my apartment.
Okay, there you go again. There you go again. Yeah, there it goes again.
Because I'm pissed off. What does that have to do with these folks out? What's going on outside? That's outside. Why is my apartment involved?
Okay. Would you like me to explain it?
Really need to know information.
Well, I'll explain it to you.
My apartment?
I'll explain it to you. If
Did they run inside my apartment?
Sir, when you're ready to listen and not argue and ask a million questions, I'd be happy to explain it to you.
Bro.
Do you want me to explain it to you?
I'm over this right here.
Do you want me to explain it to you?
That's like somebody fighting outside.
That's no. That's a no. When you're ready, let me know, but do not come back inside this crime scene.
When can I go in my
when
apartment?
we release the crime scene, and we're waiting for detectives
I don't even know
to come
what
out.
the fuck happened. I'm like, I can't
stand there, sir. When you're ready to listen, I'll talk to you. Just flag me down when you're ready.
Sorry, we're going to 8725 Rockland Road, looking to a mosquito or honey from a dog.
Hey, Culver, I'll talk with him when he's ready to have a conversation with me, okay? I'm a lieutenant out here. I'm in charge of this. If you want to know what's going on, I'll be happy to tell you, but I'm not going to get spoken over and get yelled at the whole time. Okay? So when you're ready to talk to me, okay, you ready to listen? Okay. So here's what we got. We get dispatched to a person shot right out here in front of the building.
Somebody got shot out here.
You're doing it again. You're doing it again. You can't even be quiet.
Because I didn't hear no bullets. Okay. I didn't hear no guns go off.
Because you weren't here.
I was here.
Okay.
I was here.
Sir, I'm about to just say we're done. Okay? We get dispatched to a person shot a little bit after 4 o'clock. We get out here. We got a female that has bleeding from the head. We have witnesses that are telling us that they heard a gunshot and she went down onto the ground. Got a young man that's sitting out here in a white shirt that is telling us that that is his girlfriend that has been shot. We ask him what he's doing here. He says his brother lives in 3108. I said, brother like in relative brother or brother like in friend brother? He said, like in friend brother. I said, is there anybody else inside that apartment? He said, no. Got witnesses that are telling us that the person that she was arguing with was not the one that shot her. So we don't know where the shooter is. We know that we got a boyfriend here who's sitting outside of an apartment that has not been checked. I gave the directive to check that apartment to make sure there were no additional victims and that there wasn't a shooter inside that apartment. That's why we entered your apartment. We did a protective sweep to make sure that it was safe, and we exited. And then we locked it down. So that way if detectives want to come out here and they want to conduct a search warrant over there, they can. That's going to be totally up to them. That's why we entered your apartment. The boyfriend is the one that said that he has connections to that apartment, 3108. That's what he said.
So someone could just say that they're
connected.
Right.
That is correct. That is correct. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to make it safe. That's the whole reason we went in there were two reasons. Was to make sure that there were no additional victims.
That's crazy.
Well, it's crazy now to you because now, you know, we know that there's no victims and we know that there's not a bad guy in there. But at that moment in time, we don't have that information, right? Check this out. If you would have been shot, involved, let's say you were out here in this parking lot and you were part of the altercation. Let's just say, hypothetically, and you were shot and we went in there to check and we found you.
Not me. Don't say me.
Listen, listen.
God forbid.
Okay, God forbid is right. But then we go in there to check and make sure that nobody ran back into that apartment and we found you and we saved you. Would you be glad that we went back in there to make sure there were no additional victims?
Yeah, I guess.
That's it. That's the only reason why we went in there, is to make sure there were no other victims. That's it. We didn't go in any of these other apartments.
How did I get inside?
How did you get inside? It was unlocked.
My door was unlocked? Yes. So if my door unlocked, y'all could just go inside my apartment like that?
Check this out. If that door was locked, we probably would have kicked it down. For the purpose of making sure there were no other gunshot victims and making sure that there were no bad guys in there watching us while we're out here working. We have the authority to do that for officer safety and to make sure there's nobody else that needs any help. That's the first thing. That's the first thing. My concern is there another person that's been shot? That's it.
Right.
That's it. So and legally, let's not, morally, I want to do that because I want to make sure no one else is hurt and they don't need any attention, right? But legally, we have the authority to do that at that moment in time with the information that we have. Now I got more information. Now standing here, I know there's no more victims and there's not a bad guy in there, right? Now I know that, but at that moment, I didn't know that.
Who shot the girl?
I still don't know. We're still looking for this person. I have absolutely no idea. That's why detectives are coming. So we go in there, we make it safe. We know there's nobody that needs any medical attention. And we know that no bad guys in there or nobody wanting to do any harm to anybody's in there. And we just wait. And then the detectives will come and they'll investigate it. We're not going to let anybody into that apartment or out of that apartment right now until the detectives say, yes, we need to get a search warrant for it, or no, we don't need to get a search warrant for it.
Search warrant for who?
Well, I don't know. It depends what the detectives find out when they start their investigation.
Mm-hmm.
They might start asking people questions, and somebody might say, oh yeah, the bad guy ran into that apartment first and then ran away and got in a car and left. Well, that would be a situation where the detectives would then get a search warrant for any evidence of this crime there. Mm-hmm. The detectives might be told, hey, that apartment, nobody ran away, nobody got in there. They might decide they don't need to get in there.
I have a ring camera. I could just.
That's perfect. That's perfect. The detectives are going to want that. That's perfect because that will help with the investigation.
Yeah, I have a ring camera. That's how I know that y'all went in. I would know if someone went in my apartment. I'd be like, yo.
Yeah,
who the hell is that in my apartment?
I'd be doing the same thing. Yeah. It's not like I'm not going to be feeling like you're feeling.
Yeah, I'm just like, yo.
I understand.
You know why? You know why I'm more so frustrated? Because I see shit all the time. I don't mind my business.
Sure.
I seen her. They probably had a fight. Boyfriend and her. I'm just like, let me go about my business. I went to Walmart, but then I seen officers in my apartment. I'm like, whoa.
What's going on?
That has nothing. Whatever they got going on has nothing to do with.
So you have valid questions. You have the same questions that I would have if the roles were reversed. Absolutely.
But you're a little more
right. Right.
Emotionally intelligent.
Well, it's easy. But it's easy when I'm not on that side of it. Right. If I were on your side of it, I'd be having the same questions. I'd potentially be more pissed off than you. So you actually handled it pretty well. But it's hard. I legitimately want to tell you information and give you answers to your questions, but I can't do it when I'm getting yelled at. Yeah, because you're frustrated.
I'm
right,
like,
right. So
something happened outside,
and you don't see the connection.
Yeah, and
but
I do.
Now,
I don't
now you
understand.
do. Right. Because thank you for letting me explain it.
Yeah.
So, deep breath. Here's where we're at right now. Okay, everything is safe. We're waiting for detectives. When the detectives come here, they're going to talk, they're going to canvass, they're going to knock on some doors, they're going to talk to some witnesses. They are definitely going to talk to you.
Yeah.
Absolutely 100%.
Yeah, I have a ring camera. I could pull up my ring camera.
Perfect. They're going to want to see that. They're going to want to see that. Do you have anything on the deck as well, or is it just in the hallway? You don't have anything facing out in the parking lot?
What do you mean?
Like some people have cameras in the windows facing out by their
just
cars.
My door. It's just a door ring camera.
So.
Okay, so he pouts and he walks away, and he comes back and he pouts and he walks away. It's literally like, I can only imagine what it might be like to try to help this guy figure out how to be a decent husband. Like, it's amazing to me. All I hear is this is exactly the reason why there's a 40% higher incidence of domestic violence in law enforcement families. And we see finally at the end, this guy just submits and he gets browbeaten into just accepting the lieutenant's explanation and feeling stupid for having even questioned it. And that is what is wrong. That is one of the things that is so wrong with our policing system today, is that I am not paying you. I promise you, had this lieutenant tried to talk to me like that, he would have found that he had met his match. Actually, as an aside, if anybody knows the person that's in this video, I'm going to put my email address on the screen. I'd love to see the Ring doorbell camera that you have, and I'd love to have some conversation with you about what actually happened. I'd love to bring you on the show and get the sort of backstage pass as to how this actually shook out and what ultimately happened. But they're signaling for us that they would do nothing on an internal affairs complaint about this guy for rudeness. In their minds, this is what we want. This is what we paid for. This is what the public should expect. So ultimately, he browbeats him into submission. And then it comes out at the end, well, I know exactly how you feel. I'd feel the same way. You know what the difference is? The difference is that you feel entitled to feel that way because you're the police. And your being the police means that your feelings are much more important than this guy's feelings, because all that matters to you is that he is one of your subjects that exists beneath you, and it is your job to babysit him and treat him like he is less than human. So even though you guys might both be men, and even though you might both feel the same exact way about an invasion of your home, that doesn't get to matter very much, because he's not where you are. Y'all are in different places. You have a badge and you have the privilege and the weight of the government, and he's just a guy who has not learned better than to question the police. In closing, I just want to draw your attention. This is a case study. If you ever got into like a psychology class, I bet you could write an entire dissertation on the psychology of a police officer. Because if you think about all of the things that you would want to try to work out of a person in, say, therapy. Let's say you're having problems in your life with depression and nihilism, and you're having a real issue with interpersonal relationships, and you go to a therapist and you sit down with them, and let's just say it never happens, but let's say that your conduct's on video like we see here. If a therapist, now there might be some therapists in my audience. I'd love to hear what you have to say about this. Tell me in the comments. If you saw this behavior from a person who was seeking therapy services from you as a therapist, all of the things that you would try to work out of this person's personality, ego, narcissistic tendencies, gaslighting, pride, inability to listen, inability to see that anybody else has a position, projection, manipulation, all of the things that you would say, I want to try to work this out. Maybe your last marriage ended. Let's save the next one by working these things out of your personality. Every single one of the things that would be on that list are job requirements for a police officer in 2025. There is no world where these guys can be convinced to turn off their know-it-all bullshit and just listen for a second. And it reminds me of that quote that I mentioned a few months back, that I'm not sure whether it was actually attributable to Mark Twain, but it is commonly attributed to Mark Twain. And it's something along the lines of, it's not what you don't know that gets you in trouble, but it's what you know for sure that just ain't so. And if you think about how people have failed interpersonal relationships over and over and over again, it is always the people who refuse to hold themselves accountable. It's always the people who refuse to self-reflect, to say, what could I have done better in this situation? And the entire reason that we have what we have in the institution of law enforcement is because it is a system that refuses to check itself. It is a system that nobody forces accountability on, and it is a system that constantly is told that it's right by a public that doesn't understand what the actual function of a police department is supposed to be, and has convinced itself that these people are doing something that they're not actually doing. We only give cops the benefit of the doubt because we don't understand what they actually do. We think that it's some noble thing, that these guys are just running into the fray on our behalf. But the truth is that 99.9% of the interactions that a police officer has while in the course of their duty will not be running into the fray. It will be having to have personal skills enough to deal with a human being with emotions and be able to set your emotions aside long enough to help that situation or mediate or de-escalate. And they have no ability to do it because nobody ever forces them to self-regulate. And that's why we have what we have in a policing system in the United States. Anyway, I'm curious what your all's thoughts are. Tell me, do you love this, Lieutenant? Do you see this as leadership? I see a perfect example of how out of touch this police department is. And it's not like Sandy Springs Police Department didn't need some good press, right? It shows how out of touch they really are, because they just fired a guy for personal use of their flock camera system. It's been all over the news, and they really needed a good story. And this is what they came up with. This is what they offered forward for the public to show as their idea of good leadership. They put it right on their own Facebook page. Nobody called them out. They put it out as an example of good leadership. So you guys tell me what you think. I'd like to invite you to check us out on all the socials. You can scan the QR code with your camera phone on the screen, and that'll take you to the Linktree site. There you'll be able to access the YouTube page, the Facebook page, the TikTok, and the Substack. You can join on a paid tier of Substack if you want to, but that's only for people who want to support the channel monetarily. I don't put anything on these platforms that people have to pay for. If you don't want to follow us to another platform, but you'd like to support monetarily, I'll put my Venmo and PayPal links both here on the screen as well as in the description. Please remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment on the video. Check out some of the other videos on the channel and leave a comment on there as well. Until I see you again, take care. Always film your interactions with the police and keep your evidence to yourself.